Here we go. All right. So, first thing we're going to do is, guys, thanks again for everyone joining us today. Like I said, today, the beginning of the class, we're really going to focus on the workshop part of it. We really want to refine what you guys have done. So we want to be reviewing what you guys are doing. What was your guys' experiences with finding your leads? What kind of challenges did you guys have? And then we're going to walk all the way through until what you guys sent out or didn't send out. We're going to go through that together, okay? So, Dat, do you want to go first and kind of go through everything from how did the process work? Who did you target? Why did you choose them? Break it down for me.
So I targeted director of operations because just based on my experience in security, that's kind of been not the end decision maker. I guess it really depends on the size of the organization, but I've seen that more as the norm.
Yep.
So I wanted to target that because it is obviously their function. It's not an HR function. It's director of operations, scheduling, time, attendance. So all my messaging was catered towards that. So when I was going towards LinkedIn using Sales Navigator, I used different keywords, whether it be director of operations manager. Now, having that said, I think anybody can probably concur to that. But with security, whether you're 50-man strong or 1,000-man strong, some of these 1,000-man shops run like they're like a 50-man shop. So even
totally.
A director of operations or CFO or whatever, they may not have a LinkedIn, or if even on LinkedIn it doesn't have an email. So I found it a little bit tricky in terms of gathering the emails or director of operations, even operations managers.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
What was your territory that you were working with in?
I went across all my different territories, but I was primarily looking at SoCal and New York. That's where I got most of my contacts.
SoCal, I see. Let's pull up some. If it's cool, we're going to go through everybody's. I just think it's important for us to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
So for your geography, you went into New York.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the industry, you kept it in security.
Yep, security investigations there.
And title, operations. Seniority level. Do you focus just on director?
I focused. My initial searches for each territory, I was very specific, and then I broadened it as I took up the list. I started with director and not director of operations. Yeah.
Okay. Now company size. That's not broad enough. Yeah, you're right. That's too broad. So let's see. Are any of these some of the ones that you came across? For example, PayPal wouldn't be the best bet for you guys.
Yeah, some security services.
Some security would.
Yeah.
S&P Global.
S&P Global. So with security investigations, what you'd have also to do is you have to click on S&P Global.
Yep.
And have to make sure it's actually a physical security company.
Yeah, you got to do the due diligence for sure. Yeah.
So this one wasn't, so I wouldn't include him.
Yeah.
Information services.
Okay. Let's walk through it together. So how many did you get through to here? Like, what were you noticing? Like, was it, do you think, 50-50 that you're finding them on the first page, or the 177, or what were your...
In terms of finding a director of ops, or in terms of...
Finding the ones that were correct for your industry?
Out of, say, 50-50, 40%.
Yep.
Maybe.
And did you try to...
On the first 100 pages.
Yeah.
I mean, the first 100 contacts. And then it started getting a little bit more broad.
So I'm going to try to see... Broadening our search results give us better findings. Corning Incorporated. Let's see. Let's do something else here. Okay, let's see. So there's one, before I speak about the two different styles of prospecting. I want to double check this first. So that when we did it, we walked solely through role based, correct?
We walked through role based, but when we're on the call, we use some broad terms like operations.
Yeah.
Putting that in, taking it away from the title, because the titles focus on that specific area of the profile.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put operations, it kind of pulls information from that profile,
yeah,
not just the specific title. So we did that as well. And that actually helped broaden it, and was able to get a couple more emails.
How many contacts in total did you get roughly?
I got 100. I got 150. Not just, but it wasn't from New York. It was actually from like all of my territories combined for director of ops.
Which were New York and SoCal, correct?
Yeah. New York, SoCal, some mid Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Alabama.
Every guy's got anywhere from 13 to 15 states, provinces.
Sweet. Yeah. I have the breakdown. Yeah.
Take North America and divide by 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a long opportunity.
Yeah.
So before we touch on what I think we're going to need to do,
mm-hmm.
I want to go through everybody's because I already know the workaround we're going to have to do for securities because kind of did the same thing for the real estate company we just worked with.
Perfect.
Let's go for you, Jimmy, first. And same thing.
Same thing.
Where industry targeted role and your territories that you went to try to build your list off of.
Yeah, so I also went into pretty much every single state to get the 150. Of course, I started with just one state, like BC and then Alberta, but I came out with like 10, less than 10, actually. Also targeting director of operations first.
For security, right?
For security, but then afterwards I decided to expand it to like operations manager, director of ops, every single title with operations. Then I actually didn't have enough still, so I expanded it to the function operations, and that was it. And that actually helped because I actually found other titles like scheduler, like scheduling manager or something like that at random times.
Yeah.
Like, it was far and few, but you needed every one of them to get the 150.
Yeah.
What else did I do? And then I also I also targeted 200 plus at first, and then I expanded to include 51 to 200 as well. And then I also included 11 to 50 at the end.
11 to 50. Where'd you get the most contacts from? Which bracket?
11, probably 11 to 200 range.
11 to 200?
Because what happens is once you get to about 200 plus range, there are more contacts, but then they're all from the same company. So I would, like for instance, when I was only doing 200 plus, it might show 150, but out of those 150, 100 are within like 5 companies.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because like
Big
ADP,
large ones,
large security companies that had operations people for each of their cities and divisions, and it got hard, a lot harder. And then when I expanded to like function of operations, there were like site supervisors and a lot of those type of people, which were not actually helpful, but it did include some, but also included a lot of crap as well. What else?
And we don't want to go through any results you guys have from the blast yet. We'll go over those right after, but let's focus on just let you guys know we're going to focus on LinkedIn searching right now. It's most important.
Yeah, so some states definitely have more than others. Like Connecticut had a lot, even though it was small. North Cal too, but then states like Alberta, BC had nothing.
You're going to get that though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just population density, and the reason why the territory is designed as A, B, C, D kind of territories because it's based upon population density.
Most definitely.
For Canada, when you do like British Columbia, it actually doesn't pull people who listed themselves as Vancouver, BC. But in the States, that's not a problem. So
the States doesn't have too much issue with that. Canada, we've noticed, like if you choose Toronto opposed to Ontario, there's been some discrepancies in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing with Canada is it's good that you guys found on your own. Sometimes it happens depending who you guys are searching for. Sometimes it doesn't. Those are one of those things that you just simply have to type both in and you have to go through that way. Extra minute or two, but nothing that's going to be completely impeding you or giving you, some crazy limitations, right? Okay. Jeff, go through insurance.
Yeah, I took a few kicks at the can trying different things. First, I started with my A states.
Hit me with industry first. Industry was security, security. Okay.
And then when I tried, let's say Pennsylvania or Illinois, didn't get enough in terms of what I was looking for. I was trying different things, operations as keyword, operations in the title.
Yep. Good.
So I did a few things. One is I combined the A's and B's. So I did Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ontario, Colorado, so I had about 6 states, and still didn't get enough. And then went to the A through D, all the entire territory, which is 18 or 19 provinces and states. So still didn't get a really good quality list that I could go through. You could get a long list, but you'd go through and you might find 1 out of 20 would be appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how did you manage to get all your contacts, or?
I didn't manage to get all my contacts. I think I had about 100 from LinkedIn, but once I done the 100 to get the email addresses, that number went down to about a third.
Okay. And you went through all your states to obtain the 100 contacts you got, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
To add one more thing I did too is when I went into the company, because some of the contacts listed will show us like LinkedIn member and won't show you the actual name.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I go into the actual company page, then LinkedIn might give lead recommendations, which
It unlocks it for you. That's a trick working around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't. So it's actually important that I went back and adjusted my target profile inside LinkedIn so they can generate.
Another workaround to you guys, if you guys get any blocks, Jimmy is right. Once you go into the company, if you find anybody on the same level of seniority within the company, they'll recommend you other directors in the company that were blocked, and it will give you the ability to recommend to add them or recommend you to search those as well as being comparable roles. And that's something that LinkedIn has always had, that hole in their system so you can get through it. And that was why one of the most important things was when we do our social cadences, when you guys are doing your prospecting, connect with everybody in your territory. Whether they're going to turn into a sales cycle or not, you want to open up your social network, and we want to get it past that first and second connection to give you a deeper pool. Okay?
Gotcha.
Now, this is good that we uncovered this, that we're having problems doing it role-based. There's 2 ways of searching for contacts on LinkedIn. And we literally had to do this past week for another organization based on who they were searching. Everybody open up your LinkedIn right now for your lead builders and Sales Navigator. So everybody build your lists if you're going to go for director of operations, just like for, and you said you have New York. I have yours up here, so maybe we'll just use yours as the tester. But everyone else, open up one of your states, and let's try to go for one of your largest states. You want to get something that we can get a good volume, so we can get a good measurement.
Just the 3: geography, industry, and title.
Yep. So we're going to geography. Then we're going to go for industry. And then what we're going to do is I want you guys to actually not put title. Just search it with industry and geography. and I'll show you guys what we're gonna do.
There's a trick, is to find if I can't remove it, remove one of these items.
You should be able to.
Now, the only way I can do it is Jim will help me with that. I go up and if I refresh, it takes me back to this page, then I can go in, view the filters, and delete it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's never happened. I'm not sure if it's.
So now we've got 16 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're open up on your state, which is Pennsylvania. Jimmy.
Yeah. Okay. Florida.
So which state are you in?
Florida.
Okay, Florida. So last week we went to, like I said, working with a real estate company. We went through role by role. Because their software was so niche, it wasn't just a matter of not finding the right people, but it was a matter of like, we had tons of contacts, but because of who they were targeting, maybe 80% of them didn't apply. This does happen. With LinkedIn, I can't stress enough to you guys, when we went through that class, we sat down with their sales director after, and we said, hey, we got to review all the companies you've worked with. And we went through all the companies they had and all the clients, and we've done it with some ones you provided to us. Every single one of their contacts and companies were on LinkedIn. So we told them 90% of the companies you've sold to are on LinkedIn. 90% of the contacts that you've reached out to get them on LinkedIn. Yeah, we can't find them. So right away we were like, the people that we need to reach are on there, but the parameters that we're using to find them aren't working when we go role-based. The great thing about LinkedIn is that there's two different types of searches. You have role or company-based. Role is always my favorite because I feel like you can get the most volume out of role, but sometimes depending on the criteria you're searching for, you do have to go account-based. So everybody scroll up to your top. That I'll have yours here. You're going to click where it says accounts.
That's right.
Got it? Everyone there? So the reason why we do account-based is it just basically tells us that the way that LinkedIn is classifying when we put in security, it's really broadening it. And what it's doing is it's showing people that LinkedIn's a little finicky. It'll sometimes show a person that worked in a security role 2 jobs back, and now he's working at PayPal, like we saw with that other VP.
Security in his
and he has security in his profile previously, and now he's pulling him in. Right. Now you guys are getting cluttered with 80% roles that aren't matching. So as a workaround, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go account-based, go through account. So as we're in accounts here, now we're only searching for geography and accounts within security and investigation. And right away, as I could see, I know Kroll's an actual security company. I know Guardsmark is. I know FJC is. We have Aero Security, Seal Security. Now we're finding nothing but actual security companies that you guys will want to target. Now, what we're going to have to do for the workaround is we'll select the security companies such as FJC Security Services. They're a little bit of a larger corporation, but let's go in there. FJ Security offers the best security solutions to the entire United States, including uniform security personnel, leading edge technologies. So biggest thing is here is this. Security personnel. That's what you guys want, right? Now the workaround is 955 employees. That's good. We have people that reach out within the organization. We're going to click View All. We're going to go Operations.
So now you're just looking at employees within that company.
Correct.
And now you're finding the role within that block of employees.
Correct. So now we're getting Chief Operating Officer. Now we're getting VPs of Ops. So now we have a Senior Director of Operations. We know how to do the unlocking here. We know how to do the workaround with recommendations. Get another director of the same level within that organization and look for the lead recommend. And another good thing too is when you guys are doing this is I tell people, right now we think that our best traction points to the Director of Ops, right? And it may be, but for some companies that are a little nicher than others, some of the problems you run into is we had a lot of crossover. So basically we said that, well, sometimes this person manages it. Sometimes his role is this. I think for securities, we came up with over about 30 different rules that we thought applied as being entry points. So what we realize now is by going into the company directly now, opposed to going role-based, we're not just only going to be looking for director of ops, but we're going to be looking for the most appropriate roles that are available per company. So now we're going to have over 900 contacts within this company to find out who'd be the most appropriate. Everyone following me so far?
Oh, right, that's right. It's just clicking along. Okay, so I got in here and found that the director of operations for this security company. Sorry, what was I missing?
No. So basically what I was trying to run them through is that if our goal is operations, right? But if we don't have enough roles that we need to go in role-based and we move into the account-based style of selling, which is totally fine. Those are the two avenues we go to. With account-based, there's actually a lot of bonuses to it because we can find more than just the director of operations, but we can find other roles within this organization that could be appropriate for us to break into. What were some of the other roles for a security company that we used as entry points if we want to speak to? You guys made the list for me last time.
Depending on the level, controller.
Yeah, controllers, correct. What else?
Owners.
Owners.
CFO,
CFOs.
CFOs, assistant controller,
Director
director of finance. That's your scheduler here.
So what you're saying is you may find just by looking at the block of employees within that company, you'll find the other roles.
Yeah, like for hospitality, I don't think you'll ever even have to touch accounts because roles will have so many.
Yeah.
But for like niche areas like this, you'll probably have to go to accounts and find them.
Yeah. And the whole thing with LinkedIn is when we came to the real estate company, we showed them last week, they were kind of like, oh, we can't do it, we can't find it.
Give me some money back.
But the thing about LinkedIn is, and we always use it, we analyze all their data and we tell them 90% of your company that you've sold to and contacts are on here. So for us to think that we can't find them on here, it's not true. It's that we don't have the right parameters that we're using and criteria to search for them. So what we're going to do now moving forward is we still want to try to do role-based first because you guys are still going to yield results.
The quickest way to get
the quickest way to get some results. But to go more thorough as you guys are going through your companies or going through your territories is you guys have to go account-based.
Right.
Make sense?
So let's take a step back now. The step back is each one of you pick security, right? And that's where obviously a problem exists. My suggestion is we're already getting 70% of our leads from security. Security is not the problem area that you're having. Where we want to find leads are in the other verticals.
Hospitality,
healthcare, right? Banquets, catering, all of those. My suggestion is for the first campaigns, let's go into the markets, let's go into the industries.
Yeah.
Where we don't have a good set of leads already.
Yeah. And I think the only reason why Frank wanted to do security when we decide for our first one is because we have references. 70% of your clients are security. It was going to be easy for you guys to structure messaging in case I said do that. But like Frank said, our goal has always been to break into other markets. And the other markets that we did search for hospitality are nothing but roles. All the appropriate people are on there.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're going to do is I actually have content and documentation that shows the instructions of how you go through role-based first, and then as you go through account-based, and I had to show how the parameters are different. What we're going to do is I'm going to change them up for you guys to make them Salaic-centric, so it's appropriate for security and hospitalities, and I'll show you how you can interchange and plug them in. I'll send that to you guys so you guys have a guideline of when a role-based doesn't work, what do I do for account-based, and what the parameters are for both.
And think of healthcare as an example, right? Assuming that it's going to have a fairly flat structure like security's got right now. So you do a search on healthcare as an industry, but as another search term, home. So it's going to look for home healthcare, right? Which is going to be closer to our niche, right? That sort of thing.
And as you guys go through companies that are like you said, 50, 200, for the time being, for security, it seems, because of the limited parameters we're getting when we're searching, I would suggest that you don't you don't hold your guys selves back with employee size. I mean, company size. I would just leave that out and first see what you guys get, and then break it down from that point. Okay.
And that's the other point as well. One of the biggest considerations in implementing a program like this is how do we get into the bigger accounts?
Yeah.
The reality is the vast majority of security are still smaller accounts. The big accounts aren't predominantly within security. The bigger accounts are within healthcare and hospitality and the other markets we're trying to go after, right?
Yeah.
Venues.
100%. So what we're gonna do as well for you guys is I've listed down the other two ones, hospitality and healthcare. We're gonna give you guys some what are like at the end of this class. We're gonna go through what we want to do for our next blast after we review this one, or what our results were thus far. But me and Theo are gonna do a little bit of homework outside on hospitality and healthcare, and kind of give you guys a breakdown of what roles we're finding online, how many companies per territory we found, so you guys have an idea that when you guys go in there, you guys know that there's enough data there to do what you guys need to do. Okay.
Yeah. So when you do it from a healthcare perspective, the home healthcare and the extended care, so the old age homes, that sort of thing.
Like a big search would be like assisted living.
Assisted living. Those would be the
Yeah.
kind of the targets that we'd be shooting for, and that's going to be a lot easier to filter through.
Yeah.
Right. The problem with security, once again, you were trying to use a filter for guard. A lot of them, it's not just like patrol guards or guard. They have that in their titles as well, right? So you're finding a lot of security guards that are out there. They're not necessarily decision makers. Whereas they're probably not going to have they might have home health care worker, but that's not going to be the title of their role. Their title is going to be nurse or physio practitioner or something like that, right?
Correct. So now we got that out of the way, and everyone knows that now we're going to start doing things both ways, account-based and as well as role-based. We're going to send you some content on how the instructions work for both, so you guys have it at your fingertips. But now that we got that out of the way for now, I want to kind of go through how did the messaging work? How did sending your first blast go? Like I said, this first beginning of the class is literally a Q&A where we work through any kinks in your guys' messaging, because we need to make sure that we're sending at least 150 contacts out per week we message to. Okay? So who wants to go first? Jimmy?
CNON is still working on getting our woodpecker and email integrated. It's having a lot of trouble doing that with our IMAP.
Okay.
So we actually couldn't really send it out.
Who is your guy? Are you using Exchange as your guys'
Exchange,
email?
yeah.
It's Exchange?
And I know it's been going back and forth with Woodpecker's support team on that.
So he's engaged with them, okay?
He's engaged with them for the past 2 days.
And how is that?
It's still not working, and I know he's pulling his hair out a little bit. But yeah, he's tried a number of different things to get it to work. Like he said, his words were that IMAP is actually a very old technology for email that a lot of people don't use, and he was surprised. So that's why he hasn't been able to connect to it, because I guess ours, I don't know technical terms, I really didn't understand.
Yeah.
So something about the ports, SSL codes are also not syncing properly, which is true, because when IMAP, I believe, you can customize the port or SSL numbers and such, and they don't allow him to do that. So I think that's also part of the problem.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's working on it still. He didn't sound too confident about getting it to work, period. Like, he didn't sound like this is something that's fixable, just needs time. It didn't even sound like that, but
Yeah.
he said he's still working on it.
So good thing we're bringing that up. This has happened before too. It's not the first time. Me and Theo have done a lot. So with IMAP, obviously you guys know some of the biggest email platforms such as Gmail utilize IMAP. They're in the millions and millions of subscribers. There are some workarounds. I think I told you from the get-go, Frank, we discussed that when you guys start doing a lot of prospecting, a lot of emailing, depending on how many you guys are doing per week, we were at one point going to decide to give you guys separate accounts. You'd have one account that would solely be for your outbound campaigns. You Because you have to remember, when you're sending out 150, 200 emails a week, and you guys are getting 1, 2, 300 replies per week, your inbox gets flooded with replies from all your potential prospects. Then you have your real email account where you actually have work that, these are existing clients. You have stuff that you actually have to take care of. We knew from day one that there may be a chance that you're going to have to split up your accounts because you're getting too many emails flooded in that you kind of want to be able to say, hey, I'm going to prospect for 2 hours. Let me turn this off right now and get back to my work that I have to do for my regular inbound duties. Or 2, for the rare cases from people that are using Exchange, and depending on what kind of Exchange system they have, sometimes we have to open up a separate Gmail account under your guys' same domain. Could be under a .co or .ca solely for prospecting. Well, I can give you some guidance on that after.
Well, we do have a second domain, as Kamit says. We still have the .net domain,
Yeah.
Solex.net.
So what we'll do probably after is I'll probably sit down with you and we'll talk to whoever's in front of the tech, like to do the IT stuff under me,
Yeah.
and we'll work through those kinks. Because our goal is I want to have you guys by no later than next Monday getting your blast sent out. Because it's crucial for us to start getting in your replies. Gotta get you guys making money for you guys, right? Let's get you talking to new customers and breaking down some doors, okay? Perfect. So we set that up right after for you, Ian. Okay, guys. So
You guys keep going up, don't let them load up your feeds.
Yep, not a problem. So today what we want to go through is, by the way, before we even get into today's session, I want to talk about how did you guys find with the messaging? I know that I worked with Dat, and I also work with Jeff. But Jimmy, everybody, after me and Theo had our one-on-ones with you, how did the rest of your guys' messaging go? Dat, you first.
Yeah, you definitely gave me some good pointers. As like one thing I really liked was, as opposed to asking for 50 minutes on your calendar, you made it more outcome based. The end question was more related towards the content in the email. Like a quick example.
Give them an example.
Let's take a look at some of my emails.
Give them what we were doing before, and then how we corrected it.
What we were doing before.
Well, do you want 15 minutes? So reading the message, doing that, and then reading the message with your corrected ones, because this is actually really good, guys. I think everybody should be doing it.
Okay, so here's my second email goes as this. I just wanted to share with you how other companies like yours in the security industry implement technology to protect their clients' most important asset, their customers. Our software allows you to validate guard tenants using mapping technology to ensure guards are safe and present at their site. It's currently being used in organizations like Andy Frank Security, Tennessee Department of Safety, and United Services. Using our solution, a director of operations can ensure that there are no customer escalations that come across their desk due to guard attendance. As a result, we can help organizations like you maintain goodwill with your customers and ensure the safety of your guards. When would be a good time to get 15 minutes on your calendar? So that's first example. Second example is I changed over the fifth email that Jimmy wrote. According to Fredonia Group, annual spending on private security services in the U.S. is expected to grow over 5% to $68 billion by 2019. The top players in the security industry are ensuring that their operations minimize overtime, automate scheduling, and officer accountability to grab a piece of the pie. These companies use automation software such as Solex to have less than a 1% overtime cost and schedule thousands of shifts within minutes. How are you planning on tackling this growth in the future? Let me know how your organization is trying to gain a competitive advantage by automating their scheduling.
So when I was working with that, the biggest thing was every message that we had in the sequence, the call to action was, do you have 15 minutes on your calendar? Do you have 15 minutes on your calendar? Do you have time for a call? Do you have time for a call? Do you have time for 15 minutes? Your call to action should always be cohesive, and it has to kind of segue out of your body of your message. If you're asking about the importance of how is he going to be tackling the paradigm shift in the security market today, your question should be like, have you addressed this paradigm shift in the organization? Question mark. Right? The goal of the emails is not to sell them in the first email. The goal of the email is to get a response. And you want him to respond back to you and respond to something within the content you send to him. Because we want him to acknowledge, to say, hey, I noticed that you're talking about the paradigm shift in security and how it's going to be increasing by 23% in 2018. And I'm going to address how I am acknowledging how I'm feeling about this paradigm shift. Now he's acknowledging your content and he's answering your question. Now you're in a conversation with him. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. That, anything else on what you did for your messaging that you thought was any questions on or anything that we changed?
That was primarily the stuff I changed. You also within the second, fourth email, we want to make it outcome based, but you said the third email, just have some direct answers, whether it be, hey, I still haven't heard back from you. Is this the right email? Who'd be the best person to hear about this?
Correct.
Or something short and sweet.
Yeah. And what was the reasoning behind that, if you remember what I told you the details were on that?
Because from what I remember, after the first and second email, if they're not really responding, maybe they aren't the right person.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So the reason why is we go through a lot of value point, pain point, value point, different kind of things hit the person, right? After the first two emails of sending him some quality content directed towards him and he still hasn't replied, sometimes you continue to send him a third and fourth one with different value points and pain points. Sometimes the person's like, is this just a blast? Are these just marketing emails? So you want to add some humanization to it, where you say to them in the third email now, I haven't heard back from you. Are you even the right person I'm speaking to? Question mark. Nothing about content, just following up with that. So he knows that you're not just continuously, you're just not a machine sending out marketing messages. They think like, hey, you're actually inquiring, like, hey, Matt, I've sent you 2 items. Are you the person? Okay, Jeff's actually reaching out to me and emailing me right now. Make sense? Anything else, Scott?
Those are the biggest things I've got.
Biggest ones?
Sure. Yeah.
Those important ones. That's
Yeah.
good. Very good. Jimmy, anything in particular you've noticed when you're doing your messaging after you chat with Theo? Or anything in particular that you had questions on after?
Not really.
Yeah, Theo said you did really good.
Yeah, I just changed the wording so that it flowed a little bit better and got rid of some of the wordiness that we had worked on last time. But yeah, otherwise,
No, okay, Josh. Okay.
yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, I didn't hear back. I sent out the stuff on Monday morning. But,
Yeah.
Oh, did you send your blast up?
Yeah. No, sorry. I haven't sent the blast out. I just sent the stuff to you. Yeah.
Yeah, we sent you. I made marks on it as well.
Sorry, I must have maybe some junk email.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, you gotta check for whatever reason, certain things get stripped out.
Well, the meeting invitation was accepted. That's good.
Yeah, you know what? Let me pull up for you after, because I think I even actually put it on a Word document as well. We can go through it together after though.
That was on Monday that you sent that?
Yeah, it was Monday that I wrote up my thing. Yeah.
Like things that get stripped out into junk, if you just have a subject line and no content in the email, it'll strip it out. Or if you've got no subject line, a lot of times it'll strip it out as well. Or if the only thing in the subject line is an attachment,
Yeah.
it'll strip it out.
You know what I'd like to do though, Jeff? What we'll do is we'll do another one-on-one today or tomorrow if you can, okay?
Sure.
Just I'll walk through it with you on my screen share and work you through what my changes were. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
But besides that, any other things that you noticed when you were doing it that you were kind of like, from our original session, you're like, you know what, this is more my flavor, or this is how I would personalize it differently.
No, I kind of stuck to the formula pretty much. It looked very straightforward and manageable, and I think it'll work. I just want to make sure that the messaging that I've got in there is appropriate and makes sense in terms of the campaign continuity, right?
Totally, yeah. I mean, the thing is, guys, I'm really happy. I mean, we all had our individual meetings with you guys. We got to kind of hear all of your guys' messaging. You guys, I even told Frank, you guys are all on point. Told your mate the same thing. You guys are going in the right direction. Your messaging makes sense. Everything's cohesive. I think the real things is once we get that blast out, the reason why it's important is we're really going to be able to assess what are your responses from your messaging, and based on your responses, you guys are really going to be able to pinpoint like, okay, Jordan, this response, this message yielded me this response. I definitely need to switch things up. Until that happens, it's a little tough for us to really gauge the successfulness of everything. But like I said, a couple things is a real call to action that's cohesive with the content of your message, right? Not always do you want to have 15 minutes. You want to have 15 minutes. Let it match. Ask them a question regarding the content you sent. Okay? That's a big one. Anything else you want to add on tips and tricks that we're doing with messaging? I think most stuff we went through. We're trying to think if there's anything outside the box. As you guys go through it too, like Dad said, you guys may want to put in on your third email something along the lines of, hey, I just want to confirm I've sent you 2 emails. I'm wondering, are you even the person responsible for this? Switch it up to make them feel like, hey, this is humanized. This guy's actually a real person following up with me. This isn't an automated messaging system sending me another marketing message telling me why Solex has helped X, Y, Z. A real person would probably send 2 messages and be like, WTF, can you guys respond back to me? Humanize it. So I think those would be 2 really big things. A third little trick is we didn't go over last class, and I didn't want to bring it up until you guys caught some responses first. But another one of the tricks is usually on your first email or even second email, you know at the bottom where you have your signature, the bottom of it, we put sent from my iPhone, or we'll put sent from my Android.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the reason why, right?
Especially on a weekend email that you send out, they'll be like looking at it, like, wow, this guy actually took the time to write me an email on his phone on the weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we actually
Typically, stuff being sent out from a phone is not automated.
Yeah.
They're
Correct.
thinking they're getting a personal email.
Correct. So we actually, I'll send you guys the copy paste of it because we literally copied it to exactly what Android has and what iPhone has, just exactly with like, what's capitalized, the S, the I isn't. You can literally copy and paste that, put it into some of your email messages, and the guy will look at it and be like, what the heck, this guy actually wrote it on my iPhone? This has to be real. Little insider tricks, okay? So we're going to touch on that. We're going to get your campaign sent out, and everyone's kind of like ready to go with their messaging. Me and Frank will have that sorted out by today. But today what we want to go over, and I think it's kind of good because once you guys start sending your blast, people are going to start replying back to you. They're either going to be saying, tell me more. What do you do? I will jump on a call. I'm not the right person. You're going to start getting responses. The responses that we're going to want to have are people are going to want to learn more about Solex. They're going to say, send me more information. Let's jump on a call. The whole point of having your back and forth email conversation with them is you want to do a dance with them over email to get them comfortable enough to say, hey, can we jump on a call to see if Solex is something that your organization would want to evaluate and take serious consideration with using as a solution. Once you get them on a call for a discovery call, the discovery call is the most crucial part of the sales cycle. When me and Theo talk to sales reps and manage sales teams, and we talk about it being like a TV show. I think we said to Frank, if you're watching Game of Thrones, right? Does anyone who watched Game of Thrones here?
Doesn't.
Who doesn't?
We all do.
Leaked episode last night.
I did too. So with Game of Thrones, if I were to throw you in to season 6 and not show you season 1 or 2, would you understand the story just as much? You'd be like, who the hell is this dragon flying around? Who is this queen? You wouldn't know any of the backstory. With a sales cycle, it's just like a TV series. If you don't get episode 1 and 2 done correctly and watch that, 5 and 6 aren't going to make sense, and you're not going to be able to finish off the TV series. So getting your discovery questions out, we really focus on making sure the right discovery questions are asked, because we're going to be using this to make sure that we can push them for a close. We're going to make sure that we have the right data, because we're going to be going over narrative storytelling demos. Demos that have a narrative. Demos that actually include stuff from their impacts to their business, functionality, that we can actually incorporate in a story to them so the demos resonate more. So what we want to focus in on today is going through how a discovery call should go, what are the types of questions that you should be asking in a discovery call, and the importance of why these questions are important and where it's going to lead us to. And as we go through it all, we're going to go through question by question. Theo's going to go through them with you guys. Theo is a master of discovery calls. I've known this guy for years at multiple organizations we work with. He does discovery calls better than nobody else. And so what we're going to do is, after we go through the importance of discovery questions and what questions you should be asking, we're then going to give you guys some discovery question grids that we put together, so that every time that you guys go to a discovery call, you guys will have the questions readily available for you on online, or you guys can print them out and you guys can fill in all your data. Sound good? Do you want to switch to? Sure. Over here.
So when I first started in tech, I was doing like an inbound marketing role, so it was all inbound stuff. And it was easy to ask the questions because they were always reaching out to me. But then when I moved on to an outbound role, to an AE role, it was me asking the questions. And I'm like, I don't know what to ask them, or I would be so nervous that I'd forget to ask them things. And that way I wouldn't be qualified. So I just decided I was going to do a discovery sheet and make 8 little boxes. And in order for me to qualify that as a demo, I'd have to have 6 of those boxes ticked off or filled up with a little bit of information. So we're going to go through each of these 8 boxes, and then we'll kind of run through it and see what you guys think about each of them. So the first one is functional need. Like I think this is needed in all of them. So I kind of put in questions that you'll ask. So the first one is, when you get them on the phone, it's like, they obviously accepted your meeting, you're calling them for a reason. There's a meeting invite. So tell me a little bit about what prompted your interest in looking at a solution like Solaris. And that kind of gets the why is there any interest even? And then that gives them an idea of, okay, why did I take this call? And then you go, what are the benefits do you see your department gaining from our software? And here's where you get the business pains that you can actually put in your messaging later onwards for whatever line of business you're targeting. Because they'll tell you, this is the exact pain point and even when you send them the email, so let's just say you send them 6 emails and then finally reply after the 6th email. Well, now you know what email they actually made them reply, because it's like, what kind of benefits do you see gaining from the software? And then these 2 questions are also pretty important, because how are they doing today? Like, what are you currently doing? Obviously, it's not working. That's why you're taking my call. And then you ask them, why can't they continue to do it the way they've been doing it? Or what is the driving to change they need for the way it's being doing now? So these are some of the questions that you can get them to answer the functional need. Ultimately, the goal is, why did they take the call? What are some of the benefits they want to get out of this? So with this, having this filled out, you kind of be able to tell the narrative storytelling of, let's build around what kind of benefits you see. Let's answer these questions of, why are you even looking at our software and how are you doing it today? The second one is business pain. So this is, well, once you get you don't get the functional need, you can't get the business pain. It's just the reality of it. So here you always want to ask why, or help me understand, because when you ask in these questions, most of the time they don't want to tell you, because they're like, it's a pretty invasive question. So you go, why is this important? Like, why is the functional need important? Why do you see this benefit as important? How do you see this benefit, and how do you anticipate this business will benefit from it? And this kind of gives you the results, which you can hold them accountable later on in the sales cycle. So for example, it's like, well, I can see us scheduling more people, so there's less turnover rate. Well, why do you see the less turnover rate as important? Well, we can save money. And then you can actually enter that in as, well, we're helping you save money. And as Mr. Customer, if we can save you money, why didn't you want to continue moving forward? Because a lot of times, as you can see, they tend to get cold feet. And like, oh, maybe I don't want this. Isn't what I want. Yeah. And this is a good way to ask it. Clearly, this will be a significant investment for you and your company. What improvements to the business do you expect from this investment? So it's a less invasive way of asking, what do they actually want from this functional need?
Yeah. I was going to touch, like, this functional and business pain are so crucial, because they're so different. Like, their functional pain, it could be like, hey, we're doing it this way, and now we can do it quicker and automated. But quicker and automated is not enough of a business pain for me to call up for the CFO or controller down the road and say, hey guys, I can do it faster now. But by asking these questions about business pain to him, he's going to tell you the reasons why functional pain translates to the business. Because once you can speak on the pains to the business, What's the opposite of the pain? The benefit. So you can speak on why it hurts the business. You can speak about how it can benefit the business, not the function of the business. So make sure, guys, it's a very, very crucial part.
And a lot of times they'll know the functional need, like knowing, okay, we need to have more people show up to work, but they won't know why it's a business pain. So while you're talking them through it, they'll be like, you know what, this is more important than we actually think it is. So that's why it's important to get this out of them. And sometimes it'll just be an open dialogue back and forth, them trying to figure out, they're like, you know what, I don't even really know why we don't need this. Or like, my CEO actually told me to take this call, because sometimes they'll refer it down. Like, my CEO actually took this call, I'm not really sure why. They go, can you think of some reasons of why? And then you guys can just go back and forth and figure it out. This you won't always get all the time, and that's fine. That's one of the boxes that are kind of iffy. But if you can get this, this makes your case so much stronger. So we talk about a solution like this will ultimately allow you to reduce turnover rate. Do you have a target in mind of what you'd like to increase that by? And I know you guys have a lot of industry rates and like use cases that show what you've helped increase it by. So when they say this, you're like, you know what, we can actually help you do this. We've helped A, B, and C company actually do better. So that makes your case so much stronger when you have hard numbers. These are tangible numbers that you would try to get out of them, and you would try to pitch them back at a number that you're able to actually achieve with other companies.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a hard one to get, but if you do get it, it makes your sales so much stronger. Competition. I know from you guys that you guys get a lot of inbound leads, and it's sometimes you're competing with, you're not the A-column, you're competing with B, C, D column. You want to figure that out. You want to know if you're the B or C, D, or D column. You don't want to spend too much time on it because they're just there as filler, right? So yeah, so that's important to get. So what are the solutions you're considering as part of your evaluation? How far down the road are you in valuing other vendors? If they tell you, you know what, we're pretty close to choosing a vendor, you can either be like, you know what, let's book demos right away so we can get into consideration, or if it's too late, the best thing to a yes is a no, because you can stop wasting time on it.
Yeah.
Or here's another status. So a lot of times it's status quo. So can you imagine a scenario where you might decide that you won't any changes at all? So just stick with what you have. Stick with the incumbent software. And if that's the case, then you can put something in your calendar to follow up with them in 2 months, because they're obviously sticking with their software and they took this call with you because something is going on. They might not just be able to pull the trigger, or might not have budget.
Yeah.
So that's an important question to ask all the time, because they might be ready now, but if you still put something down the calendar for 2 months down the line, they may be ready then.
Why else do you guys think that these questions are important for asking your competition? What else do you think would be important to say? What other solutions are you considering as part of your evaluation? Oh, that'd be a good question.
Kind of shows confidence in terms of, we realize, they know that we realize that we have to compete against other good companies in our space.
Yeah.
And that we know our market.
Who our market is,
and
yes.
we know what their pains are and how we would possibly compare.
Totally. That's bang on. Anything else you guys think about that question? Do you think that's important?
Well, with the second two questions for me, it's prioritizing. So if we're sending out 150 emails a week and we're getting a huge influx of leads and we're asking these questions, we don't want to be prioritizing the people that are just thinking about it and maybe making the change to it. 2 or 3 months down the road, we want to focus on the organizations that are potentially ready to make a change.
Yeah. A couple other things too, like Theo said, mentioned, is if you ask this question, they say they do have 3 other people that they're evaluating as well. That means there's a good and bad there. It could be bad because there's other people involved in it. Hopefully they're not shopping us around for a price. But it's a good thing, because if they're evaluating 3 other people and you, that means that this is a serious business problem and that they're seriously trying to solve it, and they're going to choose a vendor. That means that there is money on the table to win.
And if you know your competitors and their capabilities, and you've asked the question of what they're looking for,
My next point, you got it, yeah.
you can kind of point to our strengths without pointing directly to the weakness of the competitor.
Yeah, and what I like to say is give the perspective. So remember before we were talking about selling to somebody, if you don't know what they need, you don't know what you don't know, right? But if you know who your competitors are, you're gonna know exactly how to position yourself. You're gonna know when they say to you, so you come farther down the food chain with them, and you know who you got the competitors from the beginning. You know what, that this price is a little bit too pricey. Compared to what? I just checked, the other 3 vendors charge this. What price are they giving you? Perspective, right? If you don't know, and if there's no competitors involved, and they say to you, this is too expensive, compared to what? sometimes saying compared to this is stronger. You say we have the best price. So how is that possible? Okay? Just want to make sure everyone knows this is really important in the competition section as well.
Yeah, and sometimes when you ask them this question, they'll be like, oh, we're actually evaluating 3 other companies. How are you guys better? So that it gives you a chance to kind of just put yourself ahead. One of the tips we always say is don't ever bash your competitors, but just point out the strengths that you guys have.
Gotcha.
Because that makes you look kind of weak when you're like,
Yeah.
you know what, you guys, those other 2 companies are horrible. Don't even listen to them. But it's kind of just like, we're actually very strong here, and that's why you should consider us.
Yeah.
I'm curious, because from in my personal experience with Discovery, I leave these like the top 2 questions in the demo stage instead.
Yeah.
Just because I have always felt it's a little early in Discovery to ask the competitors because I don't know, I just felt like most people's first reaction is, oh, you're like gonna car salesman, you're trying to compete with others, you're gonna try to bash them, because that's usually people's first reaction, and I want to build more of a rapport by the second or third time before I ask that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what are your experiences with that?
I mean, what we want to do is we don't want to be car salesmen, and that's the reason why we want to ask these hard questions. We want to have a consultative approach to each deal. I mean, by asking them who their competitors are now, I think Frank and Jeff brought up, you're bringing it to the forefront from the go. Like, we know there's people working in it. We know we're going to have to combat with them. For you to know now that you're competing against ABC, so that when you go into the demo, you can already prep your demo to highlight your strengths opposed to theirs, you're a foot ahead already, right? Because customers, if you don't ask this, it's not, you're not like off as being a choosy car salesman at all. I think it's quite the opposite. But it's really going to prepare you to, like, a lot of customers are not going to want to give you this information willingly. But if you ask them, they will give it to you. The problem with that is if you don't ask them and they have other people they're working with, you're almost working with negatives or unseeable things. Because you're going into a deal half blind now. And you don't know how far they're going down one path. So I think it's a very important topic of competition. What do you think, Frank?
I agree. I mean, my past experience, because I've typically always asked, who else are you looking at, right?
Yeah.
You're right. A lot of companies, a lot of prospects don't want to give you the information because they think exactly what you're thinking, right? Oh, they just want to bash the other guys. I typically circumvent that. I'll say, who are you looking at? The reason why I'm asking is because I know you're talking to other companies. I'd be naive to think that you're only talking to me. And never will you ever hear the name of the other company come out of my mouth. You'll only hear about my company and how I think we're strong.
Yeah.
But I will never mention the companies by name that you tell me, because I'm not going to bash them.
Yeah. And the dream scenario is a scenario, and it happens lots. They say, you know what, we are going to be looking at 3 different people. You're the first person we're looking at. Dream.
That's where you dedicate most of your time.
Yeah, you dedicate most of your time.
Because you're the A column.
You're the A column. You're the first one there. There's multiple people they're looking at. This is a serious problem, and you're first one to the race. Dream situation, right? So if you get any calls like that, that's focus.
Yeah. And like asking this question now, so you're having a little bit of an awkward conversation now to avoid a very awkward conversation later down the line. So the more time you spend on it, you realize you're just a C column, and that they're actually closing something in, and they just need to give them a boss another number, and you kind of just wasted your time for no reason. So you might not always get this, and that's fine, but like at least you asked. And right in the previous 3 boxes, I made it so it flows. So when you're asking these questions, like, okay, why do you take this call? What are some of the pain points? What do you exactly need for this to take to your boss? Now who's the competition? So it's not like you abruptly go, hey, can you just tell me what else you're considering? It's kind of like, we're trying to help you here. Let's keep going down this path to figure out if we're a right fit for each other. Timescale. So I think this is one that's also important. It kind of ties to the competition, so it kind of flows in together. A lot of people say, hey, this is pretty much an indirect way of asking when the hell do you want to buy the product, right? Without asking. So when would you hope to have a solution like this up and running? Not asking them when you want to buy this, when would you want to have something like this in place? Assuming you have the solution that meets your needs, when would you hope to make a technology decision vendor decision? How have you defined what steps you'll need in your evaluation process? So this is where you kind of get like, okay, we have procurement, or you know what, I have to go to Frank to get approval, and he's on vacation, or whatever else it may be. You kind of get an idea of, okay, what kind of hoops do I have to jump through in order to make this a reality? And then the last one is, what does a typical evaluation process look like for these type of solutions? This is important because sometimes you get thrown in left field, like, you know what, we don't actually have to sign off, we have to go through a CFO. Or we need to go through procurement, and you have to deal with them. And that way you can have in the back of your head, like, okay, from now on the emails that should include procurement, I should make sure that they know this is what it is, and include in the deadline maps, like all the people, all the stakeholders that are involved.
So I hope you guys are kind of seeing what we keep going over and over again. All the questions that we're kind of asking here are things that are trying to see how guaranteed, how for sure is this deal? Is this a real deal? We want you to, on your first call, always, all these questions are kind of leading up to is pushing the customer to say, is this legitimate? Is this legitimate? Because if they answer these questions efficiently, you have a real deal. And the thing was, and Frank said, is he wants you guys, by the time you guys get to the demo, you guys are already 90% sure that this deal is going to close, and it's pretty much just, let's check the T's and dot the I's right now, right? And by getting these questions out of the way, you're just continuously checking the customer. Is he ready? Is he ready? What do you think is why do you think it's really important, again, we ask them the first two questions. When would you hope to have a solution up and running? And two, assuming we have a solution that meets your needs, when would you hope to make a technology/vendor decision? What else do you think that helps you guys get?
You can work your way backwards and start calculating the timeline for each of the steps of your sales process.
That's one. Absolutely right. And the second one too. And they're kind of the same, but
You can always refer back to this timeline when you touch base with them.
yeah. So
Free urgency.
working backwards is exactly what it is. If he tells you that he wants to be live by October, you know it's going to be 2 weeks to the demo. He tells you that in his evaluation process, which we ask here, that he has to go through procurement and go through Franklin's on vacation. You tell him, well, based on the timeline that you said you want to be up and running, this is impossible unless you can fast track my approval for me and get me to see Frank next week and meet your timeline. Now you're working with him about timeline and really trying to make it work for his business. Another reason why is when Frank asks you, when is the deal going to get closed in the CRM? I don't know. The customer likes it. He likes this tool. It's a great tool. He says he's having a lot of functional problems. I don't know when he's going to buy it. Maybe 3 months. But if you ask him when he wants it running, you're making your deal more forecastable. You can confidently say to Frank, I spoke to this customer. He wants our solution up and running by October, as long as we meet this criteria. Now you have a strong timeline for when you can forecast your deal.
Things slide though. I mean, nothing's ever cast in stone, right?
It just strengthens it.
And a lot of times, I mean, the reality is a lot of times they're going to give you a date
Yeah.
that to keep you interested,
That's true.
right? They'll give you some.
As soon as possible.
No, but they will.
Yeah.
They will because if he tells you, oh, we're looking to buy next year, all of a sudden your interest diminishes exponentially.
Yeah. Drops.
They want to keep you on the hook as well.
Yeah. It's a game.
Yeah. And I found for a lot of like assisted living homes and like older care, they have to spend their money before the end of the quarter or they lose the budget. So when they'll usually like, I need to spend it by the date at the end of the quarter, and you're kind of figuring out why. It's like, you know what, to be honest with you, if I don't spend this money, I lose it. So that way you guarantee they're going to buy something, just like hopefully it's from you. But I've heard that lots, like for selling versus living homes, like I need to spend it by this date.
A lot of public sectors like that. That's why March Madness is such a big thing.
Yeah.
That's their Q4. Q3 is their Q4. Yeah, public sector, so their quarter ends in most people's Q3s. So usually for most sales organizations, anyone sells the public sector, usually make their number in Q3 before they even get to Q4. And Q4 is usually summertime for them.
So this is also important. So this gets you your deal size. How big is the deal? Who's using this? What other stakeholders are involved? So scale deployment. One question you can ask is, you mentioned this is primarily initially for the, whatever department, HR department, let's say. How many individuals do you envision needing access to a solution like Slayx? So that gives you a deal or an estimate of what the size of your deal is. And then also you can ask, who would the users be? So you know the stakeholders, who's going to be using, who else do you need to put in the meetings, and figure that out that way.
Yeah. And then there's no like secret hidden thing with this slide. Like this is just a good thing to ask every time because I know a lot of reps that we work with, they get so focused, and I think it's good to get a deal and you're excited. And the customer wants to look at it, but just ask them a question like, how many people do you think would use this? Gives you a good idea of how many licenses they're going to want. Some people you get down to the very end and they say, you know what, we only actually need 3. What? Right? So it just gives you a good gauge. That's all it's for. Just get you a gauge on what you're going to need.
Yeah, because most of the times you'll search by LinkedIn company with like 50,000 employees, like 1,000 employees, but they're like, you know what, we just want to roll it out to a small department of 4 people first, and if you do well, then we'll do it to the whole organization. But in that way, you think like, okay, if I do well, this is going to be a way bigger upsell deal for me, or this is a land and expand deal. Let's make sure that people get adapted and adopted and move forward.
And discounts too.
Yeah.
You can already start planning. If the guy says, we're going to bring on 200 people, 300 people. Okay, Frank, this will be a 300 deal. What kind of discounts can we work? You can already pre-prep for your close.
So that's an easy one. And then additional decision makers. When we started doing this, we realized that you guys wanted to hunt the bigger game. So there's going to be more decision makers, more people that need to sign off in order to make this deal a reality. So we put this box in here to make sure that you guys figure out who these people are. So a good question to ask is, where's the pressure coming from to make this project a reality? This is pretty much asking them who your boss is without asking who your boss is. Because sometimes when you're on the phone, like, can you get your boss on the next call if I show you a demo? Like, I'm the boss. You're like, hey, you're talking to him right now. Then later on you realize, like, you know what, I actually can't sign this deal. I have to get Jordan to sign it. So, and the deal's done because now that you've engaged them so much, you can't just jump over him and talk to his boss because it's not kosher. So you ask, where's the pressure coming from to make this project a reality? Most of the time they'll say, like, because it's non-threatening, you know what, actually my boss tasked me to do this. I'm just a project manager for the case.
Just a nice way of asking without having to put someone on the spot saying, who's your boss?
Yeah. And then you go, who else or what other groups will need to be involved in the evaluation decision-making process? And that's if you don't get them to tell you, like, okay, well, I need procurement, I need HR, I need CFO to sign off, I need IT approval. That's a big thing. So usually they don't tell you that because most of the line of businesses want to keep IT out of it because the IT just wants so much control. But if you know this sooner rather than later, you can engage IT and make them feel comfortable that, hey, we're not stealing your jobs. You're still going to control of the company. Like, everything's fine. And that way it makes them more comfortable rather than just like shutting it down because you kind of go behind their back.
Yeah, IT for most software companies, I feel like you gotta become friends with them. If they're a large organization and IT's involved, some deals will try to take IT out of it, but the bigger the organization, IT has an already existing landscape of software and technology in that company, and it's better to be on their side than get kiboshed, all the way down to the end of your sales cycle.
Mm-hmm. And
it's an important one.
Also another question, who will measure the success of this project? That's kind of like the first question, but sometimes you don't really get a direct answer of who's making this, where's the pressure coming from, because then might be, I don't know, I was just interested, I want to take a look, or like, they don't want to tell you who their boss is because, one, they're scared that this might be a bad deal.
Or you might go above them.
Yeah, you might go above them, but it's a bad deal. They don't want to bring it to the boss in case, shit hits the fan. They're like, okay, well, why'd you bring this to me? So who will measure the success of this project? Usually you'll be able to get their decision maker from one of the 2 people, or the 2 questions. And last one, I guess is the most important one out of all the boxes. Make sure you ask for a call to action. A lot of the times on demos, people will just be like, oh yeah, I'm interested. Okay, well, you know what, I'm just gonna, thank you, and then they just hang up. You need to ask the call for action. So describe who will take the next action and when. That's important. Describe the agenda of the next call. So not only be like, okay, we're gonna talk next week, but what are we gonna talk about next week? What do we need to accomplish by next call? Set the schedule on the phone. So, you know what, even if they say, hey, I have my calendar pulled up right now, when's a good time for you? Check your calendar now, and then you can send the meeting invite while you're on the phone. And then after that, on the meeting invite, we always put an agenda, an itinerary, because you never know who they're going to forward it to. So if you book the meeting and you forward it to Frank with no agenda, he's going to not know why he's going on the call, what he's going to be thinking, or is he going to be important. So you set the schedule, summarize the mutual action plan that you email to your prospective client either in the body of the calendar invite, or you send them a follow-up email a day or 2 days before and go, hey, listen, I know we have a meeting. These are some of the things we want to cover. Is there anything you'd like to add additionally, or do you need to forward this to anybody else in your company? So that's a good way to ensure that they actually jump on the call if you email them a day or two before. And also putting an agenda in there makes them, if they want to forward to anybody in their company, like an additional decision maker or budget holder, then you have a way to ensure that they understand what's going on.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys what Theo's created for us. And so what we're going to do is, instead of giving you the slides, what we built out here. Okay, so what we created for you guys, I'm going to send to you guys on the spot, is we actually have discovery sheets for each of you. So basically what they are is, you're going to have all 8 boxes here to go through. So whether you guys want to do it digitally on your computers, or honestly, me and Theo, even till today, like I'm the biggest person on technology, I still print out these discovery calls for every single call I do. And I still write them all, and I have a stack of them on my desk right now. For me, it's in your mind, this is the impact of this business. This is the pain, this is the functional need, it's all here. So we're gonna send these all to you guys, so you guys all have a digital copy, you can print out as you want. What we're gonna do today is, we're gonna do a little exercise. We're gonna test how you guys are for discovery questions, and then answering them. So how you ask your questions and how you answer them. And the cool thing is, because I hate doing it on a one-way where, maybe me and Frank and Theo would ask you guys a bunch of hard questions. So the cool thing is, you guys are going to take turns. 2 of you are going to be the customer, and 1 person is going to be the rep. And the 2 people that become the customer, we're going to keep switching. You guys get to make up your own. You're going to tell him what role you are, what is your industry, what are you looking for, and that's all he's going to know. And you jump on a discovery call with you, and you guys go from there. Sound good? Make sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
I'll send you guys right now.
Just gonna jump in the washroom.
Yeah, go for it. Figure out a glass of water before we do this. We're gonna do 1 for security, and we're gonna do 1 for hospitality. Are you comfortable with that, Frank? Doing 1 of each?
Whatever you want.
Okay. We'll do 1 for security, and we'll do 1 with hospitality. And so what we'll do is, I know we have uneven numbers right now. We're supposed to have 4. So I'm trying to think if we should do 1 as in do it like we did the other 3 classrooms.
Sorry, were you sending the PowerPoint to us, or were you gonna send the actual page?
Oh, my mistake. I sent you guys. Yeah, I sent you guys a PowerPoint on the doc. Give me 1 second.
We got the recording back on.
Let me know when you guys got it.
There we go.
You guys got it? That's what you want?
That worked out, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So how should we break it up? Should we have one in the mediator, or because then it will be 2 and 2? Okay, 1 person, 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, and just do it all out. Okay, but then I don't know if he's going to be involved in the question.
Yeah, just do 2 customers in 1.
2 customers in 1. Okay, so Jimmy, Jeff, you guys are the customer.
Throwing some curveballs.
Matt, you do the questions. So I'd probably switch over to this side with Jeff. You guys have 5 minutes to tell me what your industry is, which obviously security, we know that. But you guys have the background, size of the company. You're going to tell me what the functional pain is, what you guys are looking for. You guys can quickly email that to me and Theo. So we're going to be mindful of all your data. And then Dat's gonna get thrown in here with asking the questions. And Dat, when you do it too, we don't want you to just run through the questions, but kind of go with the flow. So Jimmy, Jeff, throw them curveballs. You guys have been on calls before. Don't make this easy. Maybe you guys don't want to talk about competitors. Maybe you do. Maybe you guys want to say it's RFP. The questions are easy to go through. It's how you guys give the answers or give them your story that can completely throw these questions off, and that's what we want. Obviously, we don't want to screw you up, but we want you to be able to, on the spot. Sometimes some questions will not get done, but we want to see how far we can get them out of them.
Sure.
So, sorry, in terms of prep for the discovery call.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go in and ad lib it.
Yeah.
Or we're not gonna put together an email.
All I need is like take 3 to 5 minutes with you and Jim to sit down right now together and just say, okay, what are your guys' roles? You're not gonna tell that yet, but you're gonna tell them, we're gonna tell them right when you guys are ready. What are your roles? What kind of message did you send you? What was it about? You're gonna tell me what was the functional pain of actually what you and Jimmy's company is actually looking to do. So what is your current state? So you guys are on the same page. So you guys are going in, say it's because of we're using pen and paper for everything and we have bad churn. Maybe that's potentially the reasoning. But we want to know that. It's his job to only know what your roles are. This is the company you're from and the size, and he has to find out all the information from you guys.
Okay, so where are we going to do this?
Huh?
We look for the
If
next story.
you guys want to go outside for
Yeah.
5 minutes?
Sure.
Only 5 minutes. We don't want to make it too long, right?
And you said you wanted us to put that in an email to you, and
Just-
you guys are gonna.
Just quick.
Just type it up and then just show us.
Just show us, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want a time coach for that?
Why don't you take it faster? I'll bring this just for heat.
Sorry, I gave the short story.
So we're gonna switch up or this is
Okay.
gonna be the only one again?
We'll see how long we do, because I know we have till 11. I want to work through the emails with Frank, because we gotta get those out.
Yeah.
But no, give me the short stick. But
Trial by fire.
if it was, if we had the other person here, we were planning to do it 2 and 2. So 2 would be the company, and then you guys would switch right after and then the company. But
Good practice.
yeah, I would
It's better mess up here than mess up when you're actually on the discovery call, right?
you know what? That's the whole point. Yeah, that is
Like even now, like all my discovery calls, I print that sheet out and I kind of just go through it.
I used to do that, but my penmanship is just terrible.
Yeah.
So I just type it out.
Even if you did,
I can't read it. Yeah.
just make sure the goal is. So yeah, we always try to save as long as you can get. I think it's 4 or 5.
Four or five of them.
4 or 5 boxes out of that 8, you have a solid deal.
Gotcha.
And usually the no-brainers are, functional, business pain, impact. The ones that if you get that are really good is, he can give you like budget, evaluation process, those are the top ones.
Mhm.
If you can get those ones, it's really good. We always expect the first 3 or 4, those are like no-brainers you should get. If they don't even know their functional need today, that's kind of like, okay, not a good thing. And if they throw you guys they're going to 5 minutes to prep their case, what the company's going to be, and share it with you, me, Frank, and Dad's not going to know this. He's coming in. It's just sent them an email. They want to talk. He's going to be doing a discovery. But they'll throw you curveballs, right? That's what we're hoping for. So just make sure they're going to be thinking that you're going to ask them the questions just like this. So I massaged them in an interesting way, right? See what they say when you ask them, what prompted you for this call? Let them try to do the talking, right?
Okay.
So you're the customer or prospect?
I am the salesman.
Oh, you're the salesman. So you're,
Salesman.
so you're doing the discovery call to them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So they're all conspiring, is that what
That's
they're doing?
exactly what they're doing. I wish Victor were here. It'd be fun for the 2 versus 2, and then we'd switch it, right?
The Morris and Lee Security Service.
Yeah.
Morris.
Let's see, Morris, Mo Security.
Mo Security.
Okay. So, you guys gotta tell
So
them.
what's
2?
So I'm the scheduler, and he's the director of ops.
Gotcha. And how big are you guys?
300.
Where you guys operate out of? Tell that.
Yeah, we're in Southern California. Got another location in Northern California as well.
Perfect. And what was that one item or value point in one of the emails that he sent to you that you guys were like, all right, jump on the call? Be short. Just what was the thing that just highlighted on an email that you're like, oh, I want to jump into a call with him. So he has some kind of background on what enticed you guys, right?
Really focus on security and scheduling.
That's all you know. So
Just security and scheduling?
You sent that
That
message.
you're focused on security and scheduling.
Yep.
So you probably fell for the first email. I'm just kidding.
We're nice people.
So we're gonna start off like ring ring, and then as soon as it's ring ring, you say ring ring, they say hello.
Ring ring.
Hello there.
Hey, is this Jimmy and Jeff?
It's Jimmy and Jeff, Mr. Wu and Mr. Morris.
Mr. Wu, Mr. Morris.
Just call us Jimmy and Jeff.
How you gentlemen doing this afternoon here?
Not bad.
Not bad.
All right, I got some donuts and some coffee. Got a good little sugar rush happening. So we're excited to talk to you.
Well, hopefully it's sunny down there in South California. We've got some haze coming through our city in Vancouver, British Columbia. We've had some forest fires.
The big smoke.
Yeah, some big smoke. Well, it's typically rain. It's either Vancouver or in the summer it's a lot of forest fires. So it's pretty crazy over here. But with no further ado, I guess the first question I have for you gentlemen is, really what's prompted your interest in looking at a solution like Slayix?
Well, good question, Jimmy. I guess the big thing is we've got a system that we've been using for a while and it's kind of pushed its limits. And we just want to be able to do things a little more easily, especially with billing and payroll that we can't do with an existing system. And make sure that you can handle events as well as static guard stuff as well.
Sorry, can you repeat that last? Static.
Yeah, so we've got two sort of sides to our business. We've got two locations, but each location has a mix of, residential and commercial properties as well as events that we staff as well. So, it's mostly static guards, but when events come, we hire a lot of contractors and bring in a lot of our part-time staff to come in for those. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. In regards to your statement you made earlier in terms of pushing your limits, are you saying you're growing out the software?
Yeah, we're growing as an organization as well, but just because of our size and complexity, the deputy just isn't pushing it.
Okay. So what kind of benefits do you see your organization gaining from software like ours?
Well, we're kind of looking for something that can grow even more with us now. Deputy as service purpose wallet. And we actually, as a schedule, I like it. It's user friendly. I can schedule people really quickly. Find replacements as I want to. But now that we got more and more locations, customers, we want to make sure we also track them on a much deeper level for reporting purposes, such as knowing which clients are profitable before we actually send the guards out.
Gotcha. So in terms of reporting purposes and in terms of regards to deputy, are you able to add multiple locations and include the different pay rates and different bill rates, or is that something you're doing manually from the accounting side?
Yeah, we definitely can track different locations. That is something that they do very well. We're able to schedule different locations. However, when we do try to pull reports to analyze it more on a customer by customer basis, that's when it takes definitely a little bit longer, and we usually push it to our payroll system and also billing system to make the comparison after the fact. So we want to be a little bit more proactive before we actually, especially for those events, to see if they're actually profitable
If it's
when
gonna be
we schedule-
worthwhile.
If it's going to be worthwhile, exactly.
Okay. In regards to deputy, are you able to put the different pay rates and bill rates, whether it be based on a service you're doing, whether it's an armed guard or unarmed guard, or?
So we definitely can put the pay rates in there for sure, but not the bill rates.
Yeah, so that's causing us, a little extra time going into our billing system to enter that information manually. We use a lot of Excel spreadsheets to put the costing in there and get that all straightened out before we send out the invoices. So it's
And sometimes our contracts would have different rates that we bill our clients or we, so, and as a result, that can cause some challenges in guard, like to quickly calculate what we actually pay the guards versus what we actually bill the clients. Because we can bill one rate for client A, but a second rate for client B. And when we schedule that, it's hard to, as a scheduler, I don't see that type of info unless I start digging or bug Jeff on a daily basis.
So what you gentlemen are saying is, the event side of your business is growing, it's moving fast, you're getting queries from different organizations to obviously secure their premise, but also secure their events. And the last thing you want to be doing is going to the system, making sure if it's profitable. You want everything to be automated and preemptive. Is that what you're saying? In regards to tracking the bill rates and knowing before as opposed to after the fact that, this event is going to be profitable.
Yeah, we like to be able to make decisions early on, so we
Gotcha.
Information as soon as we can get it.
Right. Because you're getting an influx of different queries from different customers, how much time is your team spending, tracking all this, tracking the bill rates and cross-referencing all this information to make sure this is profitable?
Well, it's taking a lot of time. There's a lot of, we've got a couple of people in accounting that are just full-time trying to figure out, what the billing is, getting the information entered, correcting mistakes, following up with the customers. It's,
And when you talk about mistakes, can you elaborate on that?
sometimes it's just data entry mistakes.
Transferring of the client and attendance into our payroll and billing system properly.
Okay.
Because there's double entry involved there, and we want to, and sometimes it takes an accounting might miss an hour here or miss an hour there due to the people that are transferring.
Of the transferring. Have you had any events where customers come back to you and said, this is your proposition, this is how much you're supposed to be billing me for these specific services, and you're overcharging in certain areas? Has it caused any type of effects from your customer standpoint?
It has, so that's why
Has.
we're looking at something that's
Okay.
a little bit more scalable, so we can grow on the next level.
So you've actually had times where customers came back to you and okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not often, but when it happens, it's not a good experience, so we want to eliminate that as much as possible.
Understood. Okay. In regards, and obviously this is important. That's the reason why you're gentlemen are obviously having this conversation with me. Have you developed any other solutions or any other ways you can anticipate this from ever happening again?
No, that's why we're looking at you guys to see, what you guys have done in the past to help others. Like you mentioned, you focus on the security and scheduling, so yeah.
Understood. Okay. Besides talking to me, what are some other solutions that you're considering a part of your evaluation?
I would like that Shift4 and that
Tracking.
Tract. Yeah, it's another.
Yeah, so we've looked at them in the past.
So you looked at it in the past meeting in the last couple of weeks, or you've been kind of vetting different solutions for the last couple of years and you haven't found the right fit?
We just haven't really pulled the trigger on anything. Yeah, we just haven't. We've looked at it. We've been, just poking around, but we're just starting to be a little bit more serious in the past couple of weeks and look at more.
In terms of the seriousness, is it from someone higher up that's causing some of that pressure, or is it more from the customers that are coming back to you saying, you know, because of how you build, it's affecting obviously how they run their business or how they get charged? Is it more customer pressured, or is it more someone,
It's,
or a little bit of both?
Mostly internal.
Mostly internal?
Yeah,
Okay.
we, it's been percolating over the last few years as we've been growing, and finally decided now is the time to do something about it.
Okay. So when would you hope to have a solution up and running, preferably?
we want to make a decision by the end of the year so we can be up and running by Q1 2018, at the start of 2018.
Okay. And assuming we have a solution that meets your needs, when would you hope to have a technology or vendor decision in place?
Yeah, end of the year.
End of the year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd want the implementation to be done by the end of Q1, it being that you're making the decision Q1 2018. Is that what you're
We're
saying?
going to be up and running by early Q1.
By early Q1. So you're realistically, you probably want to be making the decision 2 or 3 months before that.
Oh, that's
For implementation.
I mean, we had, Deputy was up and running pretty fast, so shouldn't be that hard, I guess, to convert over to our new system.
Okay.
The train.
Yeah, we're thinking like Christmas break, because we had Deputy up and running. I got it implemented in like a week, less than 2 weeks. So,
Understood. Yeah.
so we were thinking end of the year, December 15th to 31st, pretty slow, get it up and running, and then start first month of 2018.
There's not going to be any problem with that, is there?
Not at all. Not at all. In regards to, I know Jimmy, you're the director of operations. Typically, when you deal with security, there is obviously a human resource aspect with this. Do we need anybody within human resources, the director of human resources, to be involved in the next call or any way, shape, or form?
I think let's make sure that it's good for the scheduling side. I mean, I want to make sure it fits for what we need.
If Jimmy and I are good with it, then we can think about bringing in some others, but we need to make sure it's going to work for us.
Understood. Okay. And in terms of your evaluation process, tell me a little bit more about that. Is it just going to be between you gentlemen making that final decision, or is that can be someone higher up, like your CFO? Or?
We'll need approval. Sure.
Yeah.
We'll need
The owner's got us.
Yeah. Okay.
Give us this nod, but more or less we'll make the decision.
We'll give him the recommendations, and yeah, usually he's pretty good, but we do need to justify for sure.
Okay.
And he's big on cost too, so
Okay.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to pay more than what he pays Deputy.
Understood. So price is an issue in regards, or price is obviously a concern for your owner.
Well, yeah, it's going to be an important decision-making part, but let's make sure it's a good fit first, because Shiftboard was, when we looked at Shiftboard, it was similar to Deputy in pricing, and they were doing pretty good as well, but we want to make sure it's a good fit first. Because Shiftboard didn't meet all of them what we wanted.
Okay.
So what are we looking at kind of ballpark for something like this?
In terms of price, Jeff, I can give you a price, but it essentially be a shot in the dark because we have different functionalities within our system.
Okay.
So if I gave you a price right now, it'd be disingenuous. So what I'd like to do is
sell it in bundles, or
we do sell in bundles, but there's a multitude of different functionalities within the system. So really, what I'd like to do with you gentlemen as a next step is schedule in for a demonstration. Show you exactly what we can do in regards to scheduling as well as the billing side. And then we can leave that question for, right after the demo for our next call.
Yeah, we just want to make sure though before we spend an hour with you and going through all that and you setting it all up for us, that it's going to make financial sense. So what's kind of like most of it would cost us? What's the ballpark? We have the full deal.
It can range all the way from $3 per employee per month all the way from $7 per employee per month. But I'll have a better idea in terms of the feedback you gentlemen give me after you send that demo.
You say $7 a month?
It can range from $3 to $7.
Okay. Well, we'll have to think about that, but why don't we, yeah, I'll talk to Jimmy after a while. We'll see where we go.
Okay. So why don't we do this, gentlemen? If you can free up some time next week, I've got some availability next Thursday, Friday for a demo. Would you be able, next week Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time?
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So expect an email in your inbox soon, gentlemen. But thank you for your time. Look forward to the demo. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
What do you think?
Well, you get it rentals anyways, honestly. It's hard work being on the spot, like, to be
Yeah.
honest, right? It's tough, right?
I was trying to take your words in these questions because
Yep.
it's not typically questions I'd ask and trying to
Yep.
make yours. Make
On
your-
the fly, it's always
on the
difficult
fly.
on
It's
the
always on the fly, but
Yeah.
especially in that position, because honestly, it's a little harder with all of us watching, but you're going to be put in that situation so many times that it's good to just get it out, right? But before I ask them what they thought, I'm going to ask everybody, what do you think? What do you think were your gaps? And before you get into your gaps, walk through that map and tell me, how many of those boxes do you think you confidently have?
1, 2, 3, 4.
So functionally, what was their functional need and how are they doing it today?
Well, they're using Deputy, which is a solution that's kind of limited in terms of functionality. They're growing,
Mhm.
so it gives me a sense that they're looking for a system that they can scale with.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I saw was how Deputy handled their billing and payroll across multiple locations. They've had problems with different customers coming up to them, whether you guys be charging them more, because it's all done after the fact. You guys are reacting to customer problems or business pains as opposed to being proactive.
Okay.
And that kind of leads to the business pain as well. Competition, they gave information regarding shipboard, track tick. They told me information in terms of what's motivating the decision. It's more internal. Probably customers complaining to their boss telling you guys to figure it out. In terms of timeline, you wanted to by Q1, you wanted a quick deployment. You're pretty explicit with that, Jimmy. And in terms of next steps, demos to get next steps out of that. I felt I could have been more structured for sure in terms of the questions I asked.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to go with the flow and not be too robotic.
Yeah.
But I felt I covered maybe 5, 6. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. I think that was probably one of the biggest ones was, one, your structure.
Yeah.
They were leading the call.
Yeah.
And you weren't.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be in that position.
Yeah.
Because they're coming to you saying, I want to learn more. You need to set the stage to them and be like, okay, the purpose of the call today is for me to ask you questions to determine if my solution is worth you guys evaluating it deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And once they have that understanding that that's the purpose, you open the gates for questioning. That was one. Your functional was good. You guys talked functional a lot. The real problem was I did not see a translation from how that functional problem they were having, how is it impacting their business. Like they're growing, but why is the growth, how is the growth and what they're doing right now with, what was that tool called? Deputy. How is that impacting their business? Like, well, why is Deputy too small for them?
Mhm.
And the problem you run into there when you stick on the functional and you went to competitor and you left out the business too much, is that when you got to close them, you're going to be stuck in a race of, didn't you say this is nice, but you're not going to have anything to say to Jimmy. If you continue doing this, the business is going to be impacted like that, whether it be losing cost, losing money, losing time savings. There's no correlation to the business pain.
Understood. Yeah.
Right? Stakeholders was good. You grab all the stakeholders that you thought were involved. You guys gave them a really hard time on that. Timeline.
Which is typical, though.
Yeah, it's pretty typical.
It is.
Yeah,
all the
80%
time.
of the time.
Yeah, well, I was smirking with Jeff when you guys did that because I was like, that is a typical sales call with a timeline. I mean, with stakeholders, exactly what they'd say.
Yeah.
Timeline was good, but yeah, I just really think for me personally, focusing on that business pain, how that correlates into life. I think you had a nice little segue when they started talking about when you asked them, who is being pressured by? where's this influence from? They brought up the owner. That was kind of like your signal to be like, so why is the owner looking at this? Like, how is it affecting the business overall? And then he could have said he's losing his money. He's having high churn.
Gotcha.
Boom. Now you got your the meat and bones to get this deal closed when you get to the final negotiation stage, right?
Gotcha.
What did you think?
Yeah. If they say like, oh, it's high churn, it's like, okay, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what would you ideally like to do? Like, how would you like to reduce that? And then that even gets you more ammo later on. So once that starts flowing, just keep digging deeper until they don't let you do it.
Yeah. What do you think, Frank?
Agree with pretty well everything that you said. The one big thing that Jordan had said was the purpose of the call is for you to ask questions.
Not for them to ask questions.
It's not for them they're going to try and discover back things about you, right?
Yeah.
Two particular areas where they kind of turn the tables on you, right? They started out pricing, okay? So they threw you a couple of.
They did. I saw them. I was like,
They threw a couple of good ones out at you where they kept saying price is going to be important, right? And
Give me a ballpark.
give me a ballpark. Eventually they turn it around on you. Give me a ballpark. Never once did you say
How much do you want?
how much,
Mm.
right? They talked about how Deputy had given them pricing. They talked about how Shift Board had given them pricing.
Okay. Yeah.
What's your budget? What did they quote you?
I was thinking of,
yeah.
All they can do is refuse to answer it.
Yeah.
But you never did ask, right?
Okay.
But that turned the tables on them, right? So that would have been you questioning them back.
Yeah.
So if they had come back, if they had given you a price,
Yeah.
then it's like you don't have to worry about the ballpark.
Okay.
You can just
We'll
say,
speed it.
we're competitive.
Yeah.
We're competitive with what you're already looking at, and you've never given them a price,
gotcha.
okay?
Yeah.
The other area was around timeline, right? What I like to do is rather than saying, you know, when this or when that, I say, in your ideal world,
Yeah, that's what I was saying too.
in your ideal world, describe to me when you want to get the system up and going by. When do you want to be operational by? In your ideal world,
Yeah.
right?
Best case.
That's the best case, right?
Yeah.
And then my follow-up question to that is typically, while you've been talking to the other vendors, right? When do you have to get started with them in order to make your deadline? And then they'll say, well, they're telling me that I need to get this and this and this and this in place. We can meet that timeline as well.
Yeah. So Frank's using like those are very, very high level sales techniques that are good.
They're using their competitors against them without directly using them against them.
Yeah,
Right.
because even when Frank asks, is a really good thing when you ask them like, hey, how far are you down the road with your competitors? Is a clear giveaway of two things. One, are you too late to the race? And two, if competitors have already been following a timeline, it's easy for you to say, well, what were those steps? And now you can abide by them, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of those are very high level sales techniques to sneakily get in. That's really good. Well, how did you guys think as being you guys are obviously the sellers? I mean the buyers.
I thought one thing that could have done is make sure, like, if you repeated a little bit of what we said to you,
Mhm.
just to make sure that affirmation that you did understand.
Reinforce.
what we said.
Yeah,
Reinforcement. So I didn't really hear much of that.
Yeah.
Made me question, like, do you really understand our pains? Because that really escalated for me when you didn't hit our pain points or explain like what they said before. So
Very functional.
yeah,
Right?
it was very functional instead. Time scale. When I think Jeff asked you, like, can you meet that? Can we do that? Or
So
something?
that's now you're back asking him
Yeah.
questions.
And you
If
had
somebody done it the other way around,
Yeah.
you would have been answering the questions.
But I was a little worried because for a 300 user, we know 2 weeks is definitely not going to work. And
Right.
also holidays, people, I mean, you never know, half your support team might be gone. Will most likely be gone as well.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
promise that, I thought that was really challenging. Like, I would question that myself.
That's right.
I would have said something more along the lines, yeah, we have different ways of deploying clients, but I think once we go through the demo and I really understand your workflow challenges, I can provide you a timeline that would definitely fit. But there are ways even to deploy within 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
So,
Jeff, anything?
No, I think that just would,
You had it.
on the nose.
Had enough of a round fire from everybody. But at the end of the day, I hope you know that like it takes a lot of confidence. That's why you you deserve another class. Like, and honestly, that's not easy to do for everybody, right? And the whole point was it's all constructive criticism. Like, this whole exercise done just to bring everyone to the table. And the great thing is, I know our class is going to end soon because we're going to do stuff with Frank, but next week, before we start our class and go over messaging, that is going to be the buyer. He's going to have a case ready. And at the start of the class, when everyone's here,
He's gonna grill you guys.
he's going to grill you guys. And tables are turned. That will be the plan for next week. Okay, guys? So now you guys can be prepared for that.
Oh, Victor will be here as well.
Yeah. So you can include Victor on your team for that, and you guys will get your stuff ahead of time.